Hi friends, back again. This is going to be a review of the Gigaset C530 IP. The reason why I'm doing this is a lot of my friends have said, hey, I loved your other video about the regular phone that I can use at home with the nice buttons, but does Gigaset make anything a little more powerful that I can use over the internet? Basically using something called voice over IP from a voice over IP provider. And the answer is yes. And that's why I'm doing this video on the C530 IP Gigaset. Now this is a little more powerful phone and has a lot of great features. And this one in particular is a hybrid. So it can support a regular landline. So it plugs into a normal landline phone jack like you would have from the phone company. But it also plugs into the internet, into your internet access, so into your router, and I'll be showing that. And that's really where we're going to be moving forward on this particular video. And also this video will be doing a lot with the computer, and so most of the programming you can do on the handset, but I would recommend that you do it all on the computer because it's much easier. So let's go ahead and unbox this puppy and I'll take you through the process. Okay, so once you unbox all the pieces and parts out of the box, you'll grab the manual and just look through and make sure you've got all the pieces and parts that you're supposed to have in there. And the nice thing about this is with the handset, since we don't really need it to do any of the programming, just go ahead and put the batteries in. Go ahead and put it in the charger and let that charge overnight. And we're going to go ahead and then also plug in the base. Now as you see, the base doesn't have anything except for one button on it. And obviously you put the power cord in and plugged it into the wall. And then on the side, you'll see, I don't know if you can see it here, but there's a RJ45 from coming off of your network equipment. So however you're getting internet, you want to be able to take that and plug it in on the side. And if everything is set up correctly, when you plug it in, you see a blinking blue light on the front saying that now it's talking to your internet connection. At this point, we're going to do everything via the computer that's also connected to that same internet access that you've just connected your Gigaset to. So we're going to go ahead over to the PC and program that on in there and get things going. Okay, so once you have the Gigaset C530 IP base plugged into your network and you're charging the handset, you go ahead and put into your browser www.gigaset-config.com, see up here, and it'll go out and find any Gigasets that are hooked onto your local network. In this case, I only have one, which is the C530 IP. It also gives me the IP address and the serial number of that particular product that I have on here. Go ahead and click on the C530 IP, and it'll come up with the configuration screen. Any second now. So once the login screen comes up, you want to put in the system PIN. If it has not been changed, and you look in the manual, the default is 4 zeros. So 0, 0, 0, 0, and then press OK. And now it advises you to change that PIN. I will not do it now, but obviously the recommendation is for you to change it, because if you didn't, anybody who gets access to your local network would be able to go in and make changes to your phone without you knowing it. So please change that PIN. Now you come up and you have the quick start wizard. Do not use this. And there's all sorts of other things that will go on with that wizard that will be confusing. And basically just go straight to settings. And this is where now you'll see a lot of information. Mostly we're going to be going to where it says telephony. So you click on telephony. And this is where you will get information from your VoIP provider, your voice over internet provider, that will have all the information you need to be able to program your Gigaset C530 IP. So since the C530 IP is a hybrid phone, meaning that it can support a regular landline, what's called a fixed line, plus also a VoIP line. Matter of fact, it can handle up to 6 VoIP lines. This is where you configure all that. If you happen to have a fixed line plugged in, it would show you the status being connected. Obviously, we do not have that. We're going to go ahead and program one of our IP lines. So you want to click on Active, and then click on Edit. And here's where now you'll put the information in that your VoIP provider has provided to you to be able to configure the phones. Most of the VoIP providers will have some type of frequently asked questions web page that you can go to. The one I happen to use, which is VoIP.ms, has the exact same thing, but they happen to be doing it on an older Gigaset A510 IP. But it programs, I will show you it. It programs basically the same way as we're going to be programming the C530 IP. So they come in with all the information that you need to be able to put all this information down. So once I had registered a account with VoIP.ms, I put in all the information I needed to be able to set this one up. So I'm going to go into my authentication and put in the authentication name, which happens to be Gigaset. All right, my authentication password is my secret password. My username is also Gigaset. My display name, you can have anything you want. I'm just going to have it say Gigaset. As you can see, I've already done this before. Now you go to Advanced Settings. The domain is going to be the domain that you set up with your VoIP provider. Mine happens to be the Dallas one because I'm in the Dallas area. You typically want to pick a server that's closest to where you are for reduced latency, if you happen to have that option. With VoIP.ms, they have many, many servers around the US and Canada. And so you can pick whichever one you happen to feel closest would be the best option for you. Okay, the proxy server address is going to be the same. .ms. Okay, the registration server is the same. Stuff we don't leave about the outbound server is the same. And the network protocol, according to the frequently asked questions, is going to be UDP only. So we're going to go back to setting the protocol and go to UDP only and say set. Okay. And now it'll take a couple seconds for the system to be able to try to connect to VoIP.ms. It'll say registration failed until it tries to connect. And then we'll go ahead and just refresh it. And it shows registered. Now, once that's set up, now the next thing you have to do is to tell the phone which line it wants to use or you want it to use to be able to make and receive calls. So that's where you go to number assignment. And right here it says for incoming calls, use the IP phone. All right, and then for outgoing calls, it has it set up as fixed line. Well, we don't want that. Since we don't have a fixed line, it's also IP calls. All right, and so now we've had set up so that both outgoing and incoming calls are going to be using the VoIP line. Okay, you can set this up for multiple lines, multiple VoIP lines, and multiple VoIP lines, and also the fixed line. A very flexible product. So we'll say set to that. And everything's set. And then we'll just go back to, we'll go with status. And the status shows everything's working. Connections. The fixed line is registered. And we're all set. Now go ahead and log off. And now we'll go back to the phone and make sure it's working. So there are a couple of cool features now that this has been programmed. One is you can see that the time and the date has already been set since this is tied into with my PC, which is tied into the internet. And then everything's set up there. Also, if by default it'll start showing the weather that's been set up for the particular area code that I had put in, which happened to be Plano, Texas. And since we've got the phone number from the VIB provider, we can go ahead and call that from a different line. And we'll do that right now. And there's the incoming call coming in. We're going to answer it that way. 123 123 123. And then making outgoing call, we can go ahead and just dial either get dial tone, which we're getting dial tone now from the, and go ahead and dial. And your phone is working. And it's pretty ruggedized too. And thus the phone is working. Great. Well, hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments or questions, please put them in the comments below and I can get to those. And hopefully if you pick up this phone, you'll enjoy it as much as I do. Thank you.